Dolly. No, no. All right. So I have it's 11:52 ish right now, Central. Carolyn is napping. I don't know how long that'll last. Anne is off with a friend right now. So if somebody wants to come in, you'd be happy. I'd be happy to have you. Uh, um, let's see. I don't really know exactly. So right now, this morning, I've been writing for the zine, the this little zine, which is, let me see. Let me see if I can. Substack. Maybe I could do this. Share screen. Substack. Share. All right. Well, we got Ryle. Yeah. Let's see. I only really use this Substack to kind of like as like a pressure release valve for my here we go. This little zine. Yeah, so I only use the at work. We should be able to listen. Welcome, Brett. I don't know. Actually, what do you do for work? I don't remember if I asked you that. Anyhow, I like to use Substack as a way to blow off steam. Seems I have a kind of creative desires that need to be met, and the Substack is a way that I can do that. Sometimes, possibly that every time I use it, it's quite offensive, and so the stuff that I normally write is kind of like, if you read my stuff on Substack, it's kind of like reading a journal. So it's really immature, and but I like it. I enjoy it. It's meaningful for me. But let's see what we have going on for the zine right now is it's kind of like this community hub for creativity, written creativity, and excuse me. Last time, what they did was they printed all these short stories for cyberpunk Islam, and now the next thing is, from my understanding, it's to do with detective story, or detective is the whatchamacallit, is the prompt. And so I want to contribute to that. And right now I have been. Um, I'll show you. Let's see. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay. Yo. Oh, Ace. Cool. You work at Ace Hardware. Nice. So right now I am, let's see, share screen, Windows. Let's try this. And we'll do that. So right now I'm working on this, which is sorry. This is a part of my short story. I don't know how short it should be though. As you can see, there's like I think 5 pages in there right now. Oh shit,
What's
Mick
up,
Muble,
dog?
what up, dude?
I was just thinking
Dudinsky.
about you. I was just thinking about you, and then the
Oh
video I
no.
was listening to went off, and I had an idea about you. It was kind of related to the video, but kind of not. And then I looked to see what was I gonna watch next, and you were an algo pull. So sometimes algo works. Get you
Yeah, I
exactly
guess
what you
so.
want.
That's weird. Oh wow. Well,
Yeah.
really good to see you, man. Yeah, I was just sharing about kind of what I was doing this morning. I forewent going to a meeting because the meeting was at a different location this morning, and there was a lot of flooding and stuff going on around, and flash flooding, and the roads are just goofy. And so I was like, you know what, I need to sit down and do some writing. I want to try and do a little more of this story that I've been working on, and it was nice. I got to clean some stuff up with that. Um,
Dick.
yeah, and then I'm feeling, as I was kind of also talking about, the Substack has been kind of a place where I could kind of just word vomit, and
Yeah, it's
so
good to write.
I
I
like it.
have like a daily notes app basically that it's Obsidian, but I have it set up so that it basically just makes a new note for me every day, and I open it and I just jot stuff down constantly. I have a couple tags that I use. But then if I end up, it's good for me because if I end up not writing on a day,
Hmm.
it doesn't just like leave a blank piece of paper or a blank note. It go ahead and like deletes the file. So I just have the dates that I like wrote stuff on. So that's kind of how. But yeah, writing is really good. I tend to. There was a time in my life where I woke up every morning and I just wrote down what I was thinking, and it was a lot of prayers. It was a lot of worries, concerns. A lot of deep thoughts. And a lot of dumb ideas about theology and philosophy and stuff. Um, but yeah, that writing stuff, if the more you can write, I think probably the better. I think it's kind of just like a good thing, even if it's not, even if you're not spending as much time as you want to on it, it's probably still just as much as you can do it. It's probably good.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, I sometimes like I like doing this too, the streaming stuff too. But the difficulty with the streaming for me is that I can get caught in this idea that maybe I'll achieve something with it, or which sometimes it can happen, right? Sometimes like some really magical, cool stuff can happen, or really some good connections can be made. All that is very good, but what I find is that it's kind of like that idea of all work makes Jack a dull boy or something, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what can happen is some of the creative that creative energy gets squandered in a weird way because
Yep.
it's not really fulfilling for me. And for me, the arts are a way that I can actually kind of be properly self-centered, I think.
Mm.
And So that's kind of something, I do like the arts as a way of connecting with others, but what I found is that it's kind of the proper place where I could practice self-centeredness, and that way I don't have to kind of like, if I'm doing it in the arts, I don't have to kind of like spray my self-centered shit all over the place with people in my real world, on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, that's very interesting to me because I think I know exactly what you mean. But then there's also the sense for me that in the making of the art is a lot of self-forgetfulness.
Yes.
Um, and so the thing that you're talking about, I feel that more on live streams
Mm,
because, obviously Mick Mo is a character. I don't know
mm.
if everybody knows that, but it's not exactly me. Uh,
Right.
and so, but it's fun, it's fun to do. So it's
Yeah.
fun to kind of crank that side of my personality up. Um,
Mhm.
and it's, I know too, the thing you're talking about with that feeling of like, oh, maybe I can be a successful YouTuber and
Mm.
people will enjoy engaging with me and listening to my content, or they'll think my ideas are good and they'll want to like support me. And and it's also weird because you have this experience too, like the corner has really helped me out financially on more than one occasion, like
Mhm.
get out of pretty serious pickles. And I would probably categorize that as the Lord using his people that are within the corner, um, to kind of care for one another. And that's also not to take away from the real generosity of the people around here. But um, yeah, all of that stuff is very, very complex, isn't it? And
Yeah.
and I think you're also right. I don't know if you said this, but I know you think this, that it's very dangerous. You know, uh, it's not a fire that won't burn you. Yeah. It's a real fire that will really burn you. Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, that's, that's why, frankly, that's why I took a sabbatical for almost a year, because I was just getting, uh, first degree burns, nothing serious, but you gotta, take a break and put on some aloe every now and then.
Yeah. Definitely. Um, yeah. I mean, and what's weird is like I don't think I've ever. I've always treated the corner creative aspect of the corner, and really that's basically all of it. Other than when I'm listening, like if I'm listening to you guys or Paul or whatever, there's a creative kind of like interaction that takes place as the listener, which I like. But like the other part where it's like I get to go on the stream or I make, whatever branding or whatever the thing is, like that's all creative too, as well as going on the live stream like we're doing now. This is creative in a sense. But I never thought for one moment that I would be uh, like I don't want to be famous. I never thought I would be like, well known or anything like this. It's not. But
Yeah, well, Batman didn't know all the stuff that was going to happen when he put on his mask either, so.
right, right. That's not to say right, but that's not to say that those temptations don't exist.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like that's where it gets tricky because, like the tricky part about a temptation is that it temptation sings to your heart. And uh
Sometimes, yeah.
at
Yeah,
least in
for
my case,
sure.
like it'll take the thing that you find beautiful and that it's a siren thing, right? It's like, oh, that's why it's a temptation. It's like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
there's something about it. It's a twisting of our desires, it's not. And so that there's this is what makes it seem not so black and white in a sense. It's because there's this good thing, which are God-given desires,
mhm,
and then there's this twisted thing, which oftentimes is our own self-centeredness or our own, you know, a lot of Christians over the years have called it like disordered desires. I think that's from Augustine, maybe. But the point being that yeah, you're I think you're really dead on in a lot of respects that it is yeah, there is this kind of twisting thing going on.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like, and if you're in it, there's an undertow that can take place where it's like, holy fuck, I got to get out of here first, and that's kind of what happened to me as well. I think.
Do you know the story of Joseph from the Bible? Like Joseph and the coat of many colors? That
the
Joseph?
dreamer? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what you're explaining, or what you're talking about, I like the earliest memory I have of this idea is hearing this Bible story, which was when Joseph was in Potiphar, so his brothers sell him into slavery. He gets shipped off to Egypt. He's and then he gets hired by this guy Potiphar, who's kind of a big deal or whatever. And he's really good. He really helps. He's like a really good worker. He's really smart, and really trustworthy. And so basically he rises from like a slave to like the head of the house, like the basically like the CEO of the organization.
He goes
And
Luke Skywalker, basically.
yeah, yeah. Or there was this rich guy. This is a story within a story. There was a rich guy in Savannah who started as a FedEx driver, and then he like worked his way up to being on like the board of directors for FedEx, and was just like super rich and did it the right way. And so he was always trying, he was always hyping up the like value of just working, putting your head down, working hard, saving your money, living below your means, and like being an honest, God-fearing person, and the Lord will reward you, kind of a thing. So as a young man, I had lots of issues with that, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, it's a thing like that. But then one day, Joseph is basically in his boss's house, and his boss's wife uh tries to seduce him, and he's basically like, no, definitely not. And then she's like doubles down, and then she like grabs him, and he hightails it out of there. He runs away, and it says that she's basically left there like holding his coat because he just takes off. um it ends up not mattering in terms of the outcome of his uh present situation, because Potiphar's wife lies on him, and basically tells her husband that he tried to sleep with her, so to get him fired, and it works, and he gets arrested, put into prison, and the story goes on from there. But yeah, that idea of, and there's lots of Bible verses about this, like flee from temptation, flee from sin. It's kind of like a get the F out of there um mentality. And it's very interesting because you have a lot of instances in the Old and the New Testament of people basically being like, flee from, just get like, run away. Um, but then you have Christ's example in the wilderness, which is slightly different. It's he doesn't run away, which is, quite curious. It makes you want to pause and think, like, but also not get too overconfident either. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, very
What's
interesting.
interesting, because his temptations seem to be kind of like most powerful when he's kind of alone, other than when Peter kind of tempts him, right? Uh, when he says, "Get behind me, Satan." um, but like, other than that, like, it wasn't like, it doesn't sound like there was a temptation with the woman at the well, or it was like it was it was like in these moments of solitude where he's trying to have deepen his communion with the Father. um
I'm
yeah.
having this experience where I've got like 3 to 5 things that I want to tell you about, and I keep wanting to interrupt and interject. Um, but I just wanted to say that instead, because I'm feeling I'm wanting to speed up, and you're you're having a much more chill day than I am. I've already done so many errands today, and I've got the like get to it, uh, go 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 brain. So you're helping me relax, but I just wanted to let you know. Um, if you want me to let the brakes off and talk for 30 minutes, I could do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, let her rip. I mean, so part of the constraint, which is nice, is that Carolyn, we are on Carolyn's time, so
Yes, that's right.
she seems to be fine. She's napping, so yeah. I mean, but okay, so just quickly, like I'll say this: one of the things that's been on my mind for like a year has been the relationship between life and death and the extreme uh, beauty of like those extremes, you know, like and so like the death aspect has been on my mind much because the life has been on my mind. I don't mean like it's hard to talk about these things. I mean that's why I like the Substack and the writing stuff because
Mm.
when I'm able to write about something, I'm not coming with like answers or anything. Like I'm really just really trying to walk the the
Would you call
you
it
know
more
what
explorative? Is it more?
yeah
Does it feel more like exploring?
yeah it's kind of it's like in that Counting Crows song where it says she walks along the edge where the ocean meets the land like she's walking on a wire in a circus. That's kind of what it is. It's like I'm trying to understand what I see, what I'm feeling, rather than know the things that because
Mhm. When
uh,
I'm writing, I have the experience of my mind slowing down.
mhm,
But I don't know if
mhm.
that's just me or if that's kind of a common thing, but it's the the having to take an idea from inside my head and put it outside my body is it's easy for my mouth to do that. It's harder for my thumbs when I'm typing um to do that. And it's very but it like I was saying earlier, it is also a type of self-forgetfulness in a way. Even if I am like journaling about my own thoughts and my own self, it's still a kind of yeah. There's a what is there's like a Vervaeke term. I mean, it's just flow, right? Like flow state or
Yeah,
whatever.
flow
But
state, yep.
yeah,
But so yeah, and I've noticed this too with the different kinds of writing. So there's like for me, there's like three different ways that I approach the writing part of it. Part of it is like when I first got rid of the YouTube channel and I decided I'm going to do Substack. I did the Substack because I needed to have some outlet, but I was also like terrified because I hadn't written anything for a long time. So I'm like, part of that particular writing was a way of like trying to break through the glass and find what it is I want to do. What am I trying to do? What am I trying to feel? What do I feel? How do I find the voice? And so that's one way I like to do it. Sometimes like my most recent Substack was that as well. It was like I don't know, like I need to scramble the eggs a bit because like if I find that if I'm too aware of my voice, it becomes kind of like this weird thing. So I have to kind of like break that a little bit. Another way is like the poet. I like to write as that guy too because that one I feel very comfortable in. I don't have a lot of constraints. I don't feel like hindered by uh the only thing that really hinders that is the awareness of that guy, right? That once I'm a poet, and so now I can kind of like become like a parody of myself, which can be gross. And then this
is
other
there?
one, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Well, I was just gonna ask, kind of as a joke, is there a stereotype for basically like quote unquote the poet at
Mhm.
meetings? Is that like because I
Oh,
could imagine someone giving a share and it's just like, all right, relax, relax. This is it. You're not Ernest Hemingway or
yeah.
whatever, you know?
Well, yeah, I guess sometimes I'm even that guy because like I think there is a way to share that is I think most impactful. Um,
Well, you could think of the "I Stand by the Door" poem almost
mhm.
as kind of that. I mean that makes sense to me. That's
Yeah,
that's
you
very
want to
interesting.
try to like I try to operate from a position of hopelessness first, and then paint that.
As is tradition.
Yeah, I try to paint that image like in a way that is um, understandable and believable.
Also very Lutheran.
Well,
Praise the Lord.
I wouldn't say I'm a Lutheran anymore, but yeah,
Who cares?
right. But like Dolly,
Holly
yeah.
cares.
So part of the thing is, I I think it's a problem if I'm gonna just come and start talking about how great things are. It can be a big miss.
Yeah.
So I want to just say like I know where you're at. I've been there, and just to prove that, I'll share a little bit about that. And sometimes I'm still there, so I try that aspect, and then I try to say, and here's you know now that we're at ground zero, the only way up is kind of this thing that I don't want to do. So I guess I'll do that, and I'll share my experience with what that's been like, and then I can talk about the kind of like infinite grace and beauty that can take place from like a real genuine surrender that I never wanted to do. So that's kind of like how I like to share in a general way.
Yeah. Again, I'm having combinatorial explosiveness of things jumping off points. But what was the other type of writing that you feel like you do?
Right now I'm playing with fiction and storytelling in like more of that way. And that one is a little different because that one requires like that one is far more like technical, and it
Oh
can like
wow. Really?
yeah, like because I'm trying to like I'm being distracted by things like quotation marks, phrases like he said, they said,
Yeah. Yeah.
those things kind of break up the kind of like creative flow state, so they become kind of more like I can see myself being more kind of like obsessed with trying to do that right. But the problem is I don't know those things well, so it kind of like
Yeah.
messes me up.
The way that I normally do that is, or I say normally, I've done it a few times and it worked really well for me. Where I kind of just stumbled upon it. Um, which is when I'm in that mode, instead of trying to get any of the punctuation right, I basically just imagine that I'm like watching a video and I'm just like taking notes on the what happens in the video to like tell my wife later or to tell a friend later.
Yeah,
And then what that allows me to do is basically get through what happens in the movie that's going on in my mind,
yeah,
um, to a good enough place where I can like fill in the gaps later. And
yeah,
then too, if it then my problem, this is why I can never finish a story, is because at that point, once I try to delve into the details, I just stop enjoying the process altogether, and I'm
yeah,
like, I already got what I wanted out of this. I'm gonna go make a beat.
yeah. Well, yeah. So part of this is kind of like I'm trying to do a couple things with this short story. First of all, I'm trying to keep my eyes open and ears open for what my voice actually is because I don't know what that is yet. I know what it is in the poetry, like I said, or in like I know what it is when I'm trying to find like that reset button. I know what that voice is. I know what the voice of the poet is, but I don't know what the voice of the storyteller is. Maybe I don't have one. I don't know. But so
See,
and
that's
then
interesting because that I wonder about that, and it's a similar discussion I've had with musicians over the years. is it seems to me that there's some people who, when they create, they kind of they have an some sort of rough sketch, or sometimes like the silhouette of a sketch in their mind, of what they're going for and what they're going towards, and they won't be satisfied until they reach that.
Mhm.
And then some musicians, some creatives, they kind of take a like, I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Mhm.
And so there becomes a difference between, and not that those are like the only two ways of doing it, but there is this general pattern, I feel like, of kind of working from, yeah, there's some artists who aren't afraid of the blank canvas. They love the blank canvas. They're afraid of when the canvas is colored in paint and it's not quite there yet. And so there
Mhm.
seems like there's this, yeah, because you're talking about trying to look out for your voice, trying to find your voice in some ways.
Mhm.
And the only thing I wanted to add to that is there's also this process of distinguishing your own tastes, which for some people is very easy and for some people is very hard. But I think that those two things are very connected. You know, finding your
Mhm.
voice and understanding, like, okay, do I like this or do I not like this? And if I do, and then there's some people, and I'm kind of one of these people too, that love the smell of their own farts, right? So, you know, there is a kind of magic of just like, and this gets back to what you're saying about the self-centeredness thing too. So it's much better for me to make a crappy beat and be enamored with it for a day
Yeah.
and then come to my senses than it is for me to always think I'm right and with my wife, you know, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, all of this stuff seems connected for me in a certain way, but then there are probably differences within all of that because it's not exactly the same thing to be looking out for your voice as it is to kind of be trying to figure out what you like about a certain sentence, for instance,
Yeah.
or what
Yeah.
you don't like about it and why. Those are all very complicated questions. So yeah, now I'm starting to understand what you mean with the fiction writing.
Yeah. So then part of it is the other thing I'm trying to do also is I'm trying to do what I said I was going to do. I want to finish this story for the zine. That's the other
Oh, I
thing.
see. Oh, I didn't know that this was a zine of associated work. Take back everything I said. You have to finish this, Chad. Don't get lost in your head. Every word
Well,
counts.
no, I mean, and but then the other thing is like, so it is combinatorial explosive because it's like, well, I I think okay, there's a principle at play through all of the threads. This is this is this is recess. This is play. This isn't, and that's not to diminish what that means. That means that it's important because I'm always working at, when I'm not on the internet, when I'm not being creative, I'm being very serious, right? I go to my job, I change my daughter's diaper, I try, I be a husband, I make dinner, I take the trash out, all those things are all like things that are important. So like I'm always doing those kinds of things in a very, real way. But I need also something very real, which is like like a real playing arena. And so like
Yeah.
that's what this is.
Well,
It's very important that I be, that this is a
it sounds for me like you're kind of graduating from a playground space to more of a like organized sports space when you start writing something like fiction almost. Because the thing
yeah,
I was thinking about what you were just saying, and I relate to this in some ways, but like a problem for someone like me who has issues with authority is I'm oftentimes wishing that I had a coach that I know I wouldn't listen to, you know?
that's
um, and there is a lot of discussion out in the zeitgeist of young, at least conservative men, in my experience, that are just like scratching their heads, looking around, like, where is? They basically want a mentor, right? They want a sponsor for life. They need
yeah,
like a profession. Sometimes they need professional help, sometimes they need personal help, and um, what our culture offers them is essentially your boss for whatever crappy job you have randomly, um, and up to a certain point it's teachers, but there is this kind of like, this is why I think things like coaches are so important, male coaches, male teacher, like all of this stuff is incredibly important. But what's interesting to me is the extent to which, and it's not just in the arts, but I know it best in the arts, there has just been this complete uh, abandonment of all of the kind of apprenticeship structures. And it's like it's weird because nobody woke up one day and decided, you know, it would be good for our culture if there was no avenue for people to like learn how to get better at things over time in a way that they can make mistakes and someone can tell them, hey, this is a mistake, do it better. You know, it's the same in the trades. Like, but it's just crazy that at all of these levels of society, young men in particular, but I'm sure there's similarities with young women, whatever. It's not that type of thing that I'm trying to point to. It's
Right.
more so this kind of the and you know, this is not I don't think I'm breaking new ground here, but it's just another good reminder. But it's hard to kind of take that perspective of um I need a coach or I'm going to like ruthlessly um yeah, there's something about that. I tend to put it in sports metaphors because that's where I've seen it done the best in my life. But
Mhm.
like the self-critique mode, the editing mode, the I want to do this better than I'm currently doing it. That is um in some ways I think it's like the one of the least talked about things in society, but that's kind of because it has to be. You know, if you're in that mode, there's nothing that somebody can say um who's not in it with you that makes any type of difference. So I don't know. Am I making any sense, or have I used too
Yeah,
many
yeah, yeah.
metaphors and analogies?
No, I think you're right. I mean, that's why I like, I haven't been able to just like write off this whole playground experiment is like, stupid, irrelevant, and useless and walk away. I just haven't been able to do it. And so that's why I think the relationships I have here, like the one we're having now, that we're partaking in right now, all of them. I mean, it's like you guys allow me some room to kind of fail forward a little bit, and then like if I do get a little wonky, like I'm able to have meaningful um, direction. I think shared with me, um, but also like, uh, well, it's like like when Ethan did his poetry voice, people were just like, "What?" And or so he was able to have like this there was it's kind of like a mentoring, like it's like a meta mentoring thing, and that, but it's almost like the zeitgeist itself, within this little culture, is being like, oh, don't do that.
Can can I double tap on Ethan's poetry voice for 1 second?
No.
I I think if I was not live on the internet right now and I was in private with him,
Hmm.
what I would tell him is by no means stop doing the poetry voice. Do it even harder. Do it more.
Right.
Because the fact that it annoys people is perfect. That means you're on to something. You know,
Hmm.
keep going. Um, but I would never say that on the internet. You know, because as far as pro felicity is concerned, I think he's doing a fake phony voice. It's not real. He shouldn't do that. And he's made some rumblings. I'll just say it right here. He's made some rumblings as if me and him are in some sort of competition or something.
Hmm.
It seems to me like he wants a little bit of a kayfabe beatdown from the king of profilicity of the corner himself, McMo. Ethan seems like he's kind of he's taking shots at the king right now, and I don't know to how long my mercy is going to go on. So if Ethan sees this, uh, let me know. Are we is this a competition? What do I have to do to prove that I'm on top? How do I become top lobster of the corner? Let
how
me
how
know,
do
Ethan.
how are we to even assume that we'd be kind of like good enough to be looked at by the Ethan Coffey show? So I
That's
don't know.
true. That
Maybe
is
we should,
true.
maybe we should stop. It's kind of like reaching, that whole reaching up and across or down and across. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't care about any of that stuff. I just like to fight.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, back to me. So
Back
the
to me.
the things that I was hoping to do is, again, you um use the Substack for a way to practice creativity. Be able to. I'm trying to find if I have a voice. I like to write. It's very enjoyable. It's very fun. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. I do like to smell my own farts too.
You
So
should write
that
about music.
no,
Why not?
because I kind of hate music.
Since when?
Well, it's when I say that, what I'm really saying is I feel like if I were to write about music, I'd be writing about it from too much of a know-it-all position, and it wouldn't be an exploratory.
Yeah, but
Uh,
this is not a share. You know, you don't have to start from rock bottom every time you write a Substack. You have some
no, I
expertise,
get that.
Chad.
I get that. But that's what I'm doing with. I don't want to. I don't want to be like.
You're a
I don't.
glutton for punishment. You only want to do the writing that's going to be super hard. Write a couple Substacks on Sleep Token and watch the money come in, brother. What's going on?
The first, I think one of the first Substacks I ever wrote was on "Taking It Back to Eden." It's up there.
Yeah, there you go.
It's out there, but nobody. One dude wrote it or read it like 2 years after the fact, which is hilarious.
Hey, at that rate, in like 10 years, who knows? Maybe you'll get like 100 people on there. You never
Yeah,
know.
sweet. Um, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, I want to finish the story. That's I want to because I want to practice I want to do a kind of accountability, where I say if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I want to contribute to the projects that I can. So that's another part of that, and it's a lot of fun. I like it, and um, but yeah, trying to find my voice. I've been listening to a lot of fiction lately, and like I have, I don't think for one moment that I'll be anything other than just kind of this average little or below average kind of hobbyist. That's good for me. I like that. I like that a
I
lot. I
just
like.
need I just need the explainer on Bill Murray. Like, why does Bill Murray represent so much, and why does it sound so fresh even though it does have nostalgia? And why, is Midwest emo back
Mm.
by being a vampire on country music? Uh,
Yeah, I think it's interesting because what I think he's doing with that is kind of like trolling, kind of like brocore country by
oh
saying
yeah.
like, "Dude, we could do it way better with metalcore." So and so it's basically everything there is kind of like ironic, but in the same way when I first started, where I discovered that um, this kind of like hobbyist position of being an artist was okay. So my whole life I cared about music so much that I couldn't even listen to it without being critical of it. So I couldn't even love music anymore because even like the things I loved growing up, I was just like, why did they do this? And I was being like this ultra critical listener, and I just couldn't love it anymore. And so what ended up happening was when I was on house arrest, my sister-in-law gave me a uh, like these watercolors and this blank pages to paint on, and I'm like, what do I want to do with this? And she's like, I don't know. I thought you would like it.
Was this
So
before the internet?
way before I was doing any of this. This is like
No, I was
10.
just thinking like maybe she was like, "You're on house arrest. You're going to be bored. Here's some watercolors."
No, this is like 13 years ago. And so I'm like, okay. Um, so what I decided to do was, just for shits and giggles, I thought I would make fun of painters, and I would be like, I'm a painter, and then I would paint, right? But when I
Joke's
found that
on you.
I liked it a lot, I was like, holy shit, this is a lot of fun, and that's where I discovered, oh, that's how I can love doing art, is if I approach it from a position of playfulness,
Yep.
where I don't have to be good at it. I don't have to have it. There's no outcome that I need to meet. There's like, I just want to enjoy play. It's like playing in the woods as a kid, It's like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about, like if the stick is an actual M16 or, I don't know, it's a stick. But it's an it's like a playing like that. And so that's what I wanted to do. Excuse me.
Well, that actually reminds me of the thing I was thinking about you before I even hopped on. Because I was listening to this. I found this new YouTube guy. I can't remember his name. I'm not gonna link him now because I want him to be mine and only mine.
Was it Ethan
But
Coffee?
yeah, yeah, it's a little channel by the name of Ethan Kahi. No, no, it's like this guy who does very kind of nerdy breakdowns of like church history.
Okay.
And speaking of which, I just saw your dunce eternal little thing. I
Yeah.
learned from this guy's videos that the word dunce actually comes from the church history guy John Don Scotus in the Catholic Church, um, which is funny. But the whole point was I was just thinking about the different types of conversations that go on and how like what would make them feel like they got to a place that was like where they needed to go. Um, and it was just interesting to me that so many different people probably have like different opinions on that question. Some people like when a conversation gets to a place of like personal intimacy where it's like I'm sharing about what I'm feeling and thinking and about my life and where I'm struggling. And for some people, that's like the only type of conversation that's interesting to them.
Mhm.
But then specifically for like philosophical questions, there's some people who want the conversation to kind of end in a clear answer
Yeah.
so that there's no anxiety and so that we can just say, "Oh, okay, here's what God wants from us. Here's what we need to do. Just now we just have to do it." Um and there's nothing I don't think that's like, wrong. But then there's also people who go into conversations like that and they're looking for a kind of sense of awe or wonder. So like they go into a even a like theological question of like Sam's Unitarianism, for instance. There's some people who would want to approach that and they would want the end of the conversation for them to be thinking about how great God is and how beyond our understanding he is.
Mhm.
And so that's slightly different than the inclination to kind of land on some sort of truth. Um, but then there is also a way of having a conversation that's just playful, and that's what I think you're talking about, where it's
Yeah.
kind of like both of those kind of aiming points kind of fade away, and it's more about the kind of creative synergy of what comes up with people who just kind of are relating to one another
Yeah.
and seeing what happens. So yeah, it's very interesting to me how all of those, and I think a lot of conflicts happen when people are entering into those conversational
Yeah.
games for different goals,
Right.
and they don't even
Okay.
know. It's not even like it's not that people do that on purpose. And because I don't think of that when I'm in a conversation, like where does this
So,
conversation need to go? But yeah, what do you think?
okay. We'll tie this back to Bill Murray, okay? Because, excuse me, my discovery of what helped me fall in love with creativity again was the discovery that I was a complete fucking asshole and couldn't actually love art anymore. So I kind of hit some sort of a weird wall there where I was like this pretentious kind of like unironically pretentious, right? I didn't know that I was pretentious. I just thought that I knew shit. It was only when I became truly pretentious and started to actually pretend where I was like, oh, yes, pretentious. I can pretend. And then that opened the
Yeah, there's
gate
a connection.
for something honest to come through. And I think that's kind of what Bill Murray, in a sense, was. It's like this guy who was struggling with his own kind of stuff in life, and like he was able to take these things that that it'd be like making fun of Nickelback or something. Oh, Nickelback, and then you tried to like pretend to be Nickelback, and you discovered, holy shit, like
Yeah.
it's really
Well,
good, and I like it too, and and then
I
so
can
you can
really
kind of
relate to that.
soften your
Yeah.
own, you can kind of like soften your own little like hard line opinions about something and be like, dude, is this really that serious? Come on now, like, can we just enjoy music, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I have a personal anecdote that I think you know, I think it illustrates what you're talking about, which is the first album I ever made, I did not release, and I have not released it, and I probably won't ever release it, because I basically, well, there's a lot of reasons why that I'm not going to say all the reasons, but one of the reasons was I was finishing it in the months after I got fired from the church, and so
Hmm.
my life, that was rock, it was a new rock bottom. Um, and I kind of felt the same way. Like I didn't like art, I didn't like church, I didn't like all of these things that had been like my favorite things on earth were now my least favorite things. They were sources of my greatest pain.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
and so I started over, and I basically was like, I have to make music for my sanity, and I'm just going to keep making music and farting stuff out until I like it again, basically. Um,
Hmm.
but this was basically when I realized that I could use my Instagram handle at the time as my artist name, which is McMo. Um,
Hmm.
and so that was like, once I had that kind of, oh, I have an artist name now, it kind of did that thing that you're talking about, where there was enough irony or ironic distance where I could actually enjoy playing again, because uh it wasn't, my first album was just, I didn't have enough skill, but I had a lot of sincerity and a lot of authenticity, which not in the Müller sense, but not in the Hans Georg Müller sense of
Yeah.
sincerity, but like the regular how people talk sense.
Yeah.
um so yeah, it's very interesting that like, yeah, whatever it takes to kind of get into that playful zone, I mean, you'll just at least have the experience of creating the art will be a type of rest. It'll be a type of leisure, it'll be a type of life-giving. And I think that there's something about that like, that's why God intended for us, you know if God had only wanted like the tip top most beautiful art, well, he could have just made, you know, King David and Michelangelo and that Catholic lady who wrote all those beautiful hymns or whatever. Like he doesn't need you or me writing music, if all he wants is like the best music that's ever been made. And similarly, so for two things. One, I think he likes the stuff we fart out. But two, I think that it's important for people to play and make art as like a form of leisure, as a form of rest, as a form of like um
The Sabbath.
Sabbath. Yeah, it's like one of these things that we do that is like a not doing, like exercise. A lot of people feel like this for exercise. Like they don't think of it as like doing something. They feel it more if they don't exercise. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of switch I think that you're talking about. But I also think it's just like, even people who consider themselves artists forget that all the time. because they focus on, you could, again, it's back to the like playground versus the like organized sports. Like
Yeah.
they want to be better at kickball in the at recess because they like winning and they don't like losing, even at playtime. I'll put my hand up for being one of those types of people. But and so they focus really hard on getting better and better and better, and then they forget the fun of the playground, And so that's a lot of times I think for all different types of artists, but I'm sure it expand the analogy probably expands to all of life. There's a time for focusing and getting better, and then
Yeah.
there's a time for relaxing and enjoying the gift of the activity that God has given us to partake in. So you got to have both.
Definitely. Yeah, I love this conversation. It's really nice because yeah, it's really nice. Thanks for having it with me. I mean, so
We shutting it down? Is that too much?
no, 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 I don't think so.
Oh.
No, I don't think so. She's still sleeping. So
Good deal.
um but like okay. So like I was watching uh by the way, Ethan Cahy could not convince me of why I should like exercise and or do it. Um, but you might have, so congratulations. Um, secondly, um, the I watched that movie My Dinner with Andre last night for the second time. I watched it with Anne. She thought it was absurd and stupid, but she's like, I'm just glad that it's like on the TV and I didn't have to actually sit at this dinner with these people.
You got to
Um,
remember that movie came out before podcasts.
no,
You
I
know.
thought it was great. I think it was really great. Yeah, it came out before I was born, so it's like 45 years
Also,
old.
in our day and age, people don't huddle around a good conversation anymore.
Right.
Back in the day, you'd let the two best people at talk and talk, and everybody else would just listen. And it was like a gift.
So
These
what
days,
one of the
everybody's got to say
takeaways,
their piece, even if they
yeah,
can't talk at all.
one of the takeaways, because I won't be able to do the conversation with Ezra when they do it on the I can't remember what day that is. The
I've never
and
seen it. Should I do it? Should I see it the first time with
yeah, dude, it's
with the
cool, man.
crew?
Yeah, I think it's cool. You should check it out. So one of the things that I liked about it, here's a takeaway. I'll without giving away any spoilers or anything. Um, what I liked about it, especially in the second time through, was I think, and this is also why I like some of the literature that I like, and also where part of my I would say part of my literary voice is not to give any answers. I don't want to write any moral stories. I don't want to like here's what you read and then you get the thing and then you should act. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that at all. I just want to like I just want to tell a story. Maybe you can examine your own thoughts. So one of the thing I liked about the My Dinner with Andre was I found myself disagreeing with these guys almost the whole entire way. And so what it did was it allowed me to kind of enjoy their conversation while disagreeing with it and asking myself, what is it that I actually think? Like, why would we be asking ourselves these questions? These questions that are popping up in this conversation all through the way. Why are they asking it? What's the point? What's the point? And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's like, what's the point of doing watercolors? What's the point of writing a Bill Murray song? What's the point of, it's like in five, in 500 years, nobody will know who the fuck Chad Albin is. And that by that point, will his existence really have even mattered at all? It's like, or like,
Those are their answers to all of those questions, though.
yeah. So like one of the questions is, and it relates to kind of like, if at the heat death of the universe, right, when everything is dead and gone,
I don't believe in the heat death of the universe.
I don't either. I don't either. But and here's why. Let's say at the heat death of the universe, will anybody ever remember the moment when Chad was walking with his daughter down the hallway, trying to remember this moment where he was walking with her, because it was such a this kind of like really low sensory uh, moment in time. Like it was just a hallway with plain carpet and there's sunlight coming in, but he could see his daughter and think about her in this moment, this beautiful moment that he'll want to remember until the end of the eschaton, right? And because and will anybody else remember that moment, or will that moment be so powerful that it doesn't matter who remembers it, but that what matters is that he got to have that moment with his daughter, right?
Oh, I have a
That
third option. I have a third option, and but
okay,
it's also worth saying this is why I've been hesitant to watch My Dinner with Andre, because I know enough about it to kind of know the format basically and some of the themes, but um, because I my mind goes to Kierkegaard immediately. You know, it's that you're an individual before God, that you live your life before God. That this is both haunting, but in moments like you're describing, it's one of the most comforting thoughts in the world that God is with you. He knows
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about. He was there. He remembers. He remembers it better than you did. He
yeah,
set the scene, and he, you know, from the foundation of the universe, he ordained so that everything would be just so for that moment to happen. And it's a gift to you and your daughter. But like,
mm,
um, but it's also a kind of like self-revelation of himself, right? Like that's
mhm,
it. The fact that that you can have a moment like that and your life can be what it is, it all testifies to the type of God is. And so
yeah,
that to me to and so because the other question of like, which there's a way of thinking of the heat death of the universe as like God's purgatorial fires, in which case the old shall pass away and the new shall come. And if that's what they mean by heat death of the universe, fine, you know, new heavens,
mhm,
new earth, all that. But like, and if that's the case, then you will remember that moment after the heat death of the universe.
yeah,
So, but I think a lot of times, and this is again for me, I learned this from Kierkegaard, but a kind of if you can make a type of mental experiment where your brain kind of comes up with this infinite thing or this end of an infinity, like the heat death of the universe, and you
yeah,
can experience your smallness against that, you know, and say, oh, well, what does it even matter? You know, you can go the nihilist
yeah,
route. You can say that like nobody's going to remember McMo or Matt for that matter. And this is in the Bible, even, you know, like this is Ecclesiastes. Like, you know, from dust you come and to dust you return, and you can have a very successful life and you can create a comfortable life for your children and your grandchildren. But in 2 or 3 generations, nobody's barely even going to remember your name. And unless you're like a king or some sort of Napoleonic world historic figure,
yeah,
in 200, 300 years, nobody's going to know who you were. Um, there's, you know, unless you're part of the smallest percentage of every human who's ever lived, you're fading into the abyss. It's going to happen. It's happened to every, you know. Uh, but the thing is, and here's the Kierkegaardian point, is that if you can, with your imagination, jump to the end of that kind of possibility or that infinity and just kind of say, well, I guess in that situation, it all is worthless. Like if you can make that decision of like, but the hard part is realizing that it is a decision. For when you're in that kind of mental space of like, I'm so small, the universe is so big, what does it all matter? You can either say it doesn't, but that's a choice, or you can realize my imagination has brought me this far, and really I have no business being here at mentally at the end of the world where my memory is either there or not there. And you can say, well, with God all things are possible. So, and because I've had this moment with God and my daughter, I'm confident that that's the type of thing he wants to give me more of. And I'm sure there'll be bad experiences that he'll give me too, for
of course.
discipline and for other reasons. But like, to me, that's a great comfort. And it's kind of just like a one shot to a type, what I now consider a type of immature, juvenile nihilism that
Yeah.
kind of makes that infinite move. And there's kind of, because they don't enjoy their life, they don't enjoy their experience, they just decide that, oh, okay, well, I'm going to make this hypothetical be negative, when you can just as easily make the hypothetical be positive. It's like, because we're dealing with infinities here. It's like, what if you're, worst case scenario, you die and you go to hell, and and so you've been in hell now for 10 million billion years.
Right.
So do you
Yeah.
think, like, can you mentally in that moment be like, well, I guess I just in hell, and existence is a cruel joke, and I can't even escape it with suicide because I'm in hell. Or
Yeah.
in hell, can you have the thought and cling to it that with God all things are possible? And maybe for a
Right.
sorry sack like me, if I get on my knees and like you were talking about earlier, one step in front of the other, um, starting with the I can't, I'm powerless, that step, then you know God is faithful and just.
Yeah.
He's not going to like punish you for repenting. That never
Well,
happens.
right. Okay. So she has woken up, and so we got a
My
couple of minutes.
preaching, my preaching woke up the babes.
It's, so here's the thing. Here's what I've come to, honestly, is I first of all, if there is some other like some sort of like arena where there's either heaven or hell in that arena, whatever, um, fine. I don't think that where I land is really my business. But here's the thing: if I do for some reason land in hell, which is
I just brought
nope.
that up to make an
Well,
extreme
I
case.
know that, but
Yeah,
this will kind of get to the point for
I
me.
got you. Keep going. Keep going.
Let's say I do land in hell, whatever that is. I will think that it was completely worth it because I got to hold my daughter. And to me, that is the opposite of nihilism. And like the other thing is like, so like in some of the stuff that I read, some of the fiction that I read, they'll have like this idea of, yeah, once you're gone, like all your existence will be, no. It's like, yeah, no, no, no. Like I think about that's the whole idea about like the cosmological burrito. Like
Oh, that's right. Yep.
like you have no idea how your influence is what like essence part of your essences or whatever are
Yep.
in something as simple as like a pen lid or and like it just you just don't know. I mean, that's it's none of our business. Like
Yep.
and that's why I like these kind of like weird little experiments where I get to kind of like just play in the arena of play because it's important. It's important. Like, okay, again, if for some reason the lights just go out, then I want to be able to live inside with as much love as possibly can experience, like truly like an agapic excuse me, love, not this self-centeredness,
Yeah.
but
To
like
me,
this
there.
real agapic position of like I got to see it for a second, you know?
Yeah. Well, what keeps coming up for me is almost as like a cheat code, is the idea of prayer, right? Like that we have today. We have this moment, and we can pray in this moment.
Hmm.
And because that's kind of the connecting thread for me to all of my best moments and all of my worst moments and everything in between, and all the extremes of what we can imagine about the stuff that we don't know. um in some respects, it's kind of like the conversations. It's like, to what point, unconsciously, where am I trying to go with all of that thinking? Am I trying to land on somewhere where I have solid ground and I can say, this is true, and kind of live from that? Or because you kind of need a little bit of that for, taking. taking the right steps in a way? Or am I trying to get to a place where I can just worship the Lord and, um, stand in fear and awe of his majesty? Um, another route that I can go. But oftentimes I think where where it doesn't work out for me to go is in the self-centeredness. But even in self-centeredness, I can turn to prayer, and that's super helpful.
Well, I
And
have to.
so,
I have
yeah,
to.
exactly,
That that's
exactly.
that's kind of like that's the tell-us of self-centeredness. Really, is like turn to prayer. It's like because self-centeredness is so painful. Um, that I need prayer to and I've been really bad about it, but like recently, and I'm not going to say what I've been doing because I've been trying to not kind of like I've said before, I'm not going to step out of the closet and tell everybody like how I've been praying, what I've been doing, or anything like that. I'm trying to keep it in that prayer closet really for sacred. But I'll
Yeah,
say it.
it
But I
should be
will,
more sacred than telling people what you do with your wife in your bedroom.
right?
And I'm sure I wouldn't expect you, nor would I want you to do that on live internet.
But
So,
I
like,
will say that I've turned to it, and that's as much as I want to say about it publicly because it's and that has helped me so much.
did I
Um,
ever send you that African song? I think it's from like an African church, or it might be an African band playing in a church in America. The song's in English, but do you remember the song, Brother, have you prayed?
no,
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll have to send it to you again.
okay,
It's really cool. It's like a live, it's kind of like a reggae feel. It's got a very slow tempo. Um, and like a choir with like a lead singer. Um, and the message of the song is basically like you're worrying about all of these things. You got all these things on your mind, blah 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 this, blah 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 that. My brother, have you prayed? Like you're trying to make all of these life decisions, or you're trying to figure out
yeah,
all of these mysteries, and it's like, have you considered turning to the Lord of the universe?
yeah.
Um,
One of the things I talked with somebody recently about was the practice that I'm engaged with right now is one that I don't really understand, and that's probably really good because, like, I think the last thing somebody like me needs
okay, you
is
should stop talking because I'm figuring it out and I'm remembering what it
I think
is.
part of the thing is like maybe what's so useful about a prayer that I don't understand is that I don't understand it.
Well,
And the last
well, there's
thing that
something
I
to
need
that.
and the last thing I need is like some sort of spiritual practice that I claim to understand, you know. And
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that's the thing. Even if you were to understand the practice, in my opinion, the person on the other side of it, you're never going to understand um, fully,
right,
right? There's true things that you can understand about the
right,
being on the other side of the line, so to speak. Um, but there's aspects and the reality of him which are infinite that you could, if we're constrained only by time, we're still in an infinity. Um, so yeah, I'm tempted to say something which if we weren't on the internet, I would say, but I'll just text it. No, I won't even text it to you.
I'll say this,
I think the Lord's telling me not to speak.
whatever I'm doing right now is what it seems to be like is um uh something like humbling myself because it's all I have right now because
I'll
everything
just
else is
say this.
not working.
I think there's something happening in your life, and there's a part of me that doesn't want it to happen because I think it'll make me argue with you more about things that you don't like talking about. And that's all I'll say on it.
Mhm.
And uh but honestly, may the Lord's will be done in all things, and in
But
particular the stuff that if I'm remembering right, the stuff that I
Ignacio,
remember.
why ought we get into a conversation or an argument about how much I love spaghetti and why? You know what I'm saying? It's like
Well,
what?
no, because there's particular ways of making spaghetti and eating spaghetti. And for instance, I wouldn't want you to eat spaghetti with chopsticks. right? And it's just not the best way to get it in the gullet. And if you're not using any garlic
but now you're talking
with the
about the
sauce,
best way of getting it into the gullet, rather than what if we have fun by eating spaghetti with chopsticks? That could be a real fun exercise. That could be a lot of fun.
yeah. Well, now we're gonna argue. It would be fun, but Daddy's hungry.
Yeah. Well, I love you, man. Thanks for coming on and talking with me. It was really, really lovely to talk with you.
Yeah, good time, good stream. I'm pondering streaming either this afternoon or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. The old chill stream.
The best way
But
to contribute to Ethan Kahi's show is to go to McMosa's Ko-Fi and pay there.
yeah, we need to figure out who's the baby face and who's the heel.
Wow. We need a good writer.
Yep. Well, yeah. Well, also we could improvise.
We could.
Man, maybe we're a tag team, but maybe that has to come after we have a couple bouts. If we're talking about storylines, we probably need to be rivals right now. Until there's a definitive match of some sort or another.
Well, this is clear that President Foxman is the face, and you all are the heel. So
this is true.
Yeah,
this is true. Oh, also, I see Olson thinks we can be friends. Sorry, Olson, I'm friended up. Too many friends already.
Too many friends.
We could be internet friends. Come on the live stream, donate to the Ko-Fi. No, I'm saying I'm just joking, Olson. We could probably be friends. You're right. If you like Kierkegaard, I like Kierkegaard, and so that's a starting point. But also, you know what? I don't really. Me and my wife were talking about this the other day. I don't think you really need to have that much in common with somebody else to be their friend. I think you just need to be interested in figuring out what they're interested in, and ask them questions about it.
Yeah.
Because we were just talking about how, like, pretty much everybody, even the most introverted people, if you find, unless there's like some sort of phobia or fear involved, which there oftentimes is, but that's not the point. If you find the thing that they care about or that they love, that person will start talking. They'll come alive. Mm-hmm. And because we were talking about, that's one of the good things about having a lot of shallow interests in some ways, or being like a quote unquote curious person, is it gives you the ability to ask questions about people, and all it takes is just actually being interested in it. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Thanks for hosting. I'll see you later.
All right. Bye everybody. Thank you. Toodles. Psych. I have to press end. I just left the studio. Bye, everybody.